Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing alright. Now, today I've moved to a different location for today's video. I was finding that by the main road, there's just sometimes a little bit of traffic and subsequently a bit of noise that goes by when I'm filming, and it can be a little bit distracting and maybe not as good for you guys. So I moved to a nice green location right now where nobody's really going to bother us and nobody's really going to make a lot of noise. Now, today I wanted to talk about making mistakes and where we all mess up. We make mistakes. You've probably messed up. If you haven't messed up at some point or another, you are going to. You know, as humans, we have a natural proclivity towards sinful behavior. And for those of you guys that maybe don't see it in a religious sense, we have a proclivity to push the boundaries. There's a line, but sometimes as humans we want to see how far we can go, and occasionally we overstep and we make a mistake. It can be a little mistake or it can be a big mistake. I wanted to talk to the guys today who feel like they've made a big mistake. And they feel really lost, and they feel really ashamed, and they feel really disappointed with what they've done and who they are. And maybe, right now, if you have made a mistake, you don't recognize the man in the mirror. You don't like yourself. You don't respect yourself. Maybe you've cheated on your partner. Maybe you've spoken to a friend or family member in a despicable way. You've lost your temper and you've let loose and you've said some things that can't be taken back. Maybe you have slacked at work and lost your job, or got yourself in a really tense position at work and made a big mistake that's lost the company money. Or if you're in a physical job, maybe you've put people in danger with some of your malpractice and mistakes. Now look, we're all gonna make mistakes. I've made mistakes, I still make mistakes. It's part of being human. You're not gonna live this seamless, perfect life where everything goes as you want it to. And you shouldn't want it to be that way either. Although mistakes are painful, they teach us a hell of a lot more than smooth sailing life can ever teach you. When things are going right, everything feels good, but you don't learn as much as when something goes terribly wrong. That is where you learn the most, and you don't do it again. So, to you, if you've made a mistake and you've done something you feel is pretty terrible, the first thing I say is make sure that doesn't become a regular occurrence. Make sure that doesn't happen again. You feel bad now, you'll feel a hell of a lot worse if you do the same thing a second time. Maybe you've got gambling issues. Maybe you've gambled money that wasn't yours and you've lost it and you don't know what to do. Well, a great first step is to make a pact with yourself that you're not going to go down that road again. And you're not going to do that anymore. That's the first thing. You've cheated on your partner. You're not going to do that anymore. You have to stop the behavior. That's where we establish the first real point of change, stopping that behavior, committing that you're not going to do that again. Then you got to look a little bit deeper. And you've got to think, what happens if I were to do this behavior again? What happens if I weren't to stop this behavior? What would my life look like if I couldn't stop this behavior? And what you'll start to see is that things wouldn't be good. Life would be a mess. And you'll start to understand the severity of why you need to stop. Because habits grow stronger over time. One of the things I talk about on this channel a lot is exactly that. If you're doing stuff that you feel ashamed of on a weekly or hell, even a daily basis, then those things compound, and after a couple of months and a couple of years, that's just who you are. So you got to think, if you've stepped out on your missus and you've cheated on her, you've made a big mistake, is that who you want to be? You want to be a cheater? If you've gambled all of you and your wife's savings, is that the type of man you want to be? You want to be the reckless gambler who damages and destroys the lives of those around him? In the moment, the thrill of whatever you've done might seem worth it. But normally it doesn't take very long for us to reflect after the fact that it's actually one of the biggest mistakes you've ever made. I really want you to imagine the type of man that you would become if you carried on doing what you're doing. I want you to ask yourself, is that something that you are content with? Is that a reality that you want? Because if you don't stop what you're doing, that's going to be your reality. But on the flip side, if you start changing the game and you start doing the opposite, trying to pursue meaning, trying to pursue goodness, trying to help the people you love and care about, trying to live your life with a little bit of God in you, and that doesn't have to be religious, and I'll explain why. I believe, in my heart anyway, that thinking of God and trying to live your life with Him in mind can help you to maintain a constant sense of right and wrong. Now, you don't have to think of Christianity, you don't have to think of Judaism or Islam when you're thinking about this. But you can just think down to the very basics of what we as human beings define as right and wrong. Most of us know it. And I think if you're thinking of God, you have that presence of something bigger than yourself with every action that you take. You have reminders constantly to do the right thing. You have reminders constantly to delay your gratification and not give in. And look, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. That was the point of this video today. Maybe you've messed up. But it's about not allowing yourself to make the same mistakes again and really visualizing the mess that your life will be in if you carry on going down this road. Now look, after you stop the behavior and after you make a commitment to change, then there comes a time to forgive yourself. It's difficult. Sometimes you hate yourself after you've made a big mistake. Sometimes you are really angry and disappointed with the man in the mirror, but ultimately, that's not you anymore. That was a past version of you that did a silly, stupid thing. And it's time to let go, because holding on is only going to weigh you down and make you more likely to do the same thing again. So you need to turn a page. That chapter's finished. If you feel bad enough, if you really feel bad about the mistake that you made, that commitment that you made to then move on and not make that mistake is real. So now we move on. And we enter the next chapter. And within that chapter, there's going to be mistakes, but it isn't going to be the mistake that you made. Because you learn from that within the previous chapter of your story. You got to forgive yourself, guys. You have to. You're a human being. You messed up. Maybe you hurt some people. But you understand the wrongdoing that you did. And you made a commitment to not do that again. And as well, guys, I wanted to touch on something that I maybe didn't get in there, but it's good to acknowledge you've made a mistake. It's good to feel bad about your mistake, and it's good to make a commitment to not do it again. But you must also force yourself to be accountable. If you've cheated on somebody, you need to tell them what you did. Because if that relationship continues under false pretenses, you're going to be living a lie for the rest of your life. And that person isn't getting the real you. She thinks that you're a great loyal guy and you've always been loyal, and that's not the reality. And as much as maybe you feel that telling yourself you're not going to do it again is enough, it's not. It's a basic responsibility. It's a basic thing that you must come forward and be honest. And if that person still wants to be with you, fantastic. You got somebody that really, really cares about you, and you're a lucky guy. But if not, you've got to bear the consequences of your actions. That is really what learning from a mistake is. Accepting responsibility for that mistake, whether that tears you apart or not. You have to. You have to. It's the same in your professional life. If you make a huge mistake at work that impacts other people and you feel bad about it, you have to own up to it. Some guys won't understand it. But for those that do, I think you're on the right track. But sometimes you have to sabotage your life a little bit. Some people might say, why would you own up to that? You know, you're going to regress yourself professionally. Maybe. But you're owning up to the consequences. You're taking responsibility. You're carrying yourself like a good man. Yes, you made a mistake. Yes, you messed up. But you're owning up to that mistake. And you're being accountable for your actions. You might get fired. You might lose your job. But ultimately, you're going to walk away with some pride, some level of self-esteem, some level of confidence in that, yeah, you messed up, but you did the right thing in the end. And as I said, you leave it in the last chapter and you move on to the next one and you learn from it. It's going to suck for a while. You're going to feel bad. But ultimately, you must forgive yourself. Leave it in the last chapter. Move on to the next one. Don't make the same mistake twice. And always take responsibility for the things that you do. Even when it's painful. I've had this myself. I've made mistakes before, and I could have weaseled my way out of it, and I could have not accepted the responsibility and carried on and maintained certain privileges. But I knew that that wouldn't help me in the long run. And I knew that I would have to live every day knowing that I took that shortcut and didn't really do the right thing. And for me, that's more important than anything. How you feel about you, what you think of you. But look, you're going to make mistakes. You're a human. You're going to mess up. You're going to hurt people. Don't make the same mistake twice. Own up to what you did. Take responsibility. And when you've forgiven yourself, you move on and you leave it in the past. What's done is done. And the more you dwell on it, and the more you allow it to be in your mind, the more likely it is to come back and happen again. So move on, learn from it, make sure it doesn't happen again. And make sure that, with every mistake that happens in your life, with every horrible thing you do, it's the last time. And make sure every single day you're getting better and you're being a better man. And make sure every day you're trying to have a better impact. Whether it's your friends or your family, or you want to have a global impact, make sure that every single day you're doing better than you were yesterday. And on a side note, I would say, don't compare yourself with other people. It doesn't help. You are unaware of all the horrible stuff they've done that they never told anybody about. You see the best version of them, and you just can't compete, and you just beat yourself up because you feel like you're so far behind. But the reality is probably scarily different. In most instances, that's always the case. The guy who presents himself in a certain way is never really that way. And it's not good for you to judge yourself on the basis of what other people are doing. That's not going to help you. They say that comparison is the thief of joy. So instead, look, compare yourself to yourself and nobody else. You made a big mistake. Let's see where you are in 2 years' time. Then you can do the comparison. You in 2027, you're going to be amazed at how far you've come. You're going to be amazed at the man you've turned into. And you're going to be grateful for the mistakes that you made. Although they suck, although, maybe sometimes, unfortunately, you end up hurting people. If you accept responsibility and you ensure that's not going to happen again, you're going to learn a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot. And you're going to grow, and subsequently, you're going to be able to work against the bad you did and do more good. Look, guys, if you took some value from this video today, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. Like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.